Hi guys, welcome to FullStackSDET channel. So in this video I'm going to talk about like how we can handle radio button in Selenium, right? So let me take you to a demo website for this radio button handling, right? So basically I'm on this demo website in which we have a couple of like radio buttons present here, right? So in the radio buttons you might have seen there is a option to select any one of these radio buttons. Somewhere in the other websites you might have seen like there are multiple radio options, so selection is also possible, right? So how to handle this in Selenium? So you can inspect this using this inspector tool, right? So if you scroll down and if you just click on this any one of this option here, then you will be able to see here, right? So here you can see that input type is equal to radio. So whenever you are dealing with like radio button, so there you'll be finding in most of the websites the type is equal to radio, so this will be present, right? If I have to find out like how many radio buttons are present on any website, then I'll be just writing this uh, XPath to identify like how many radio buttons are present here, right? So you can see like there are 10 radio buttons present on this particular page, right? So this way we can identify like how many radio buttons are present. But in order to interact with any specific radio buttons, you have to just identify that radio button uniquely, right? So for example, in our case, let's try to identify this particular radio buttons, right? Let us try to write the XPath. So as I mentioned earlier, we can identify any radio buttons and it has got attribute type is equal to radio. You can see like type is equal to radio. So whichever radio, if you see like if I just go to other radio button as well, so there is the type is equal to radio, right? So let me scroll down and select some other radio button as well. So if I select this one, you can see the type is equal to radio. So this is the common property you will be finding whenever you are dealing with any radio button. So that time it will be there, the type will be there as a radio, right? So we have to make this property in the XPath, right? While creating the XPath, we have to make use of this particular property. So we have to make this unique property of radio buttons, like type is equal to attribute, to identify uniquely the target radio buttons, right? So let's try to create the XPath. So firstly we'll be saying like input type is equal to radio, as this is the common property that is applicable for all the radio buttons. And now we have to identify using some text and any other unique property that is present on this. So if I have to identify this, so let me just mouse over on this. So we have this property that is common, input type is equal to radio. Apart from that, like you can see that we have label, but this label, you can see it is the sibling of this input, right? They're on the same hierarchy level, right? So we can just make use of like yeah, you can say like while writing the XPath, so we can just say like following sibling, and then we have this label, right? And then it contains text, and then let us try to get this complete text here. Right, so you can see like I think this radio buttons are presented two places on this particular web page, so no problem. So let's try to make use of some XPath property, like we can filter it further by using indexing option, right? So let me try to select the first one. So now the first one is selected. Let me go to Eclipse and say driver dot find element by dot XPath dot click, and if I run this, it should not select the given radio button. And yes, it did select this particular radio button, which is having the text as Booker T Washington, right? So it worked fine. So now the objective is to get all the radio buttons that is present on this particular web page. So let me try to create it XPath for that. So in order to get the XPath for getting all the radio buttons present on this web page, so we just have to use this XPath, right? So we know that all the radio buttons are uniquely identified using attribute type is equal to radio. So you can make use of this particular attribute, input type is equal to radio. So you can see there are 10 different radio buttons present on this particular web page. So when we run the execution using this XPath, so it should return us the number of radio buttons present on this particular web page as 10. So let me copy this XPath and I'll say driver dot find elements by dot XPath. And why we are selecting the find element, since we are going to get multiple web elements matching, right, for this type is equal to radio. So dot size, and this is going to return as size as integer value. So I'll just print this using CISO. And now if I run this, it should select the radio button, and now it should give me all the numbers of radio buttons present on this web page. And you can see it has given us the number of radio buttons present on this web page as 10, so which is matching with this particular XPath that we identified. You can see here it is giving us matching as 1 of 10. That means there are 10 different radio buttons present on this particular web page. And when we ran the execution through Selenium script, it is also giving us as 10. So it is working fine. So this way we actually deal with the radio buttons, right? So basically here we have to deal with the input type. The type is equal to radio for any type of radio buttons, and then we further try to create unique XPath using various different XPath methods that we have in Selenium, and we try to perform the click operation or unselect of any radio buttons, right? So sometimes what happens in the real-time project is some radio button is selected, then we have to unselect that based on some logic. So we create such logic using JavaScript to check that. And for checking, we can make use of isSelected method, which will be like a boolean method which returns either true or false, and using that we can get the state of the radio button. If it is selected, then we are not going to select that, and if it is not selected, then we are going to select that. So that's how it works in the real time. So that's all in this video. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. See you in the next one.